All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is Saturday night, and it is in season for Saturday Night Live on Sportswire Radio with our friends over at Wrestling Championship Entertainment. Now, originally, I wasn't going to go live. You know, it's Saturday night, want to take a break, been a busy week on Sportswire Radio, and I touched upon it a couple of hours ago. It has been quite the week here. We have had a who's who of stars from CJ the Alpha Junt, from the Warrior Paul Malin, Soldier GP, Omen Black, and even to the man that our guest tonight was across the apron from, the now RCW World Underground Champion, the new Messiah, Nicholas Crenson. But our guest tonight is going to talk about the aftermath of what we saw in that match, plus much, much more. He is always a treat to listen to. He is one of our favorites. They don't call him the resident rock star for nothing. He needs no further introduction, but he's getting that usual introduction because it is Saturday night and he is a rock star. So with that, without further ado, here on the Sports Report, the number one local sports show, former RCW World Underground Champion of the world, the resident rock star, Shawn Jovi. My friend, how you doing?
Howdy. Doing great as always.
All right. Well, certainly we look forward to what you have to say here tonight, Mr. Jovi. Obviously, might be having a little bit of a technical difficulty, but we'll try to work our way through it. We always do here on Sportswire. We have people tuned in already, so I'll try to get to the meat and potatoes of tonight. So, obviously, Mr. Jovi, for 594 days, you had held that RCW World Underground Championship. You had held that title, arguably, I would say, in the modern era, as good as anybody that has held that title. But to your chagrin, and I'm sure many of your fans, many people tuning in, listening to this, you no longer have that championship because our guest, Nicholas Crenson, the new Messiah, Thursday night won his first major championship in nearly 17 and a half years at your expense. And for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, tell us how you feel and kind of the aftermath and anything else on your mind after what we last saw between yourself and Mr. Crenson for the title that you once held for 594 days.
Well, this is pretty much my first public appearance and interview since losing the title. It's been an all right week. I've been more positive about things than the negatives. Honestly, I can't even say I'm bitter for losing the ship. I am actually proud of Nicholas Crenson of what he did. I mean, I gotta give credit, you know. He did well. He defeated me, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. But he was only good one day, and I hope that one day him and I again for that championship. I know he said I could have it any time, but right now I want him to try and cement his legacy first before I even try and come back for it. I have other plans.
Time out here. The resident rock star, Shawn Jovi. Now, you were a pretty kind individual at Vindication. You were a pretty kind individual at Vindication when you gave Mr. Crenson a rematch for your championship. And I would think the way that you lost that championship at Ring of Destruction 2, that you would maybe want right off the bat to invoke that rematch clause, because when we heard Mr. Crenson speak, now that last time he had held a major world title, he was only a champion for 21 days, and your record, from as far as we heard, was pretty good against Mr. Crenson up until what we saw a week or so ago. So why not go down that route of going for the rematch? And I think a lot of people would probably bet on you in taking back that title that you held for nearly 2 years.
And you know, I deep down in my heart, I know I can beat Crenson if I run into. At this, I have had way more wins against him losses, proven fact. But like I said, I think it's someone else hold the reins of the RCW title. I hope he is a worthy holder of that belt, as I put my heart and soul into that championship for over 15 years. I want to see what he can do now on his own, on his first title reign in about just as long of a time that belt has been around. So I want Crenson to keep it warm for me for when I decide to go back for it. But right now, I do have some other plans involved.
Well, not so fast there, my friend. I see that you have something else that you might want to discuss, and we will certainly do that as people here are certainly tuning into Sportswire tonight. We'll definitely get into that. But, I mean, you certainly said a lot of things there just now. You said a mouthful. And I would still think, though, at the end of the day, then, with Crenson as champion, and you seem to be so kind, I mean, do you feel that, in a way, what will he do differently than, let's say, you've done as champion? I mean, are you so confident that Mr. Crenson will be able to uphold that title in the way you did and some of the other names that were mentioned Thursday night before we get to that announcement there that you have for us on Sportswire, Mr. Jovi?
So the reason I have faith in Nicholas Crenson isn't because he's so much the way he beat me. It wasn't that. It was what he said after the match made me understand that maybe he is the right guy to do the job. He is the right to put RCW's championship on the map. He wants to defend other places. I'm all for it. Give the RCW championship the love and the prestige it's deserved all these years and never got. That's why I'm putting my faith as that champion. And that is why I do not want to get in his way right now, because I want to make that title grow. And I know he's going to be the one to make that title grow. Now that torch has been passed.
Okay, I mean, and I'm going to get to the announcement here in a second, but I just want to ask you one more question, if you don't mind there, Mr. Jovi, the resident rock star.
Absolutely.
You said that the title in not getting the love that it got, but you were the champion, though, for 2 years. I mean, almost.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, would you say, though, that you feel that Crenson is going to open up doors that you didn't with this title? Because I would dare say that this run you're on right now, since the season has started here in WC, this is one of the best runs of your career right now. You know, you're getting into shape that you haven't been in a long time. The way you're moving in the ring, watching your wars, obviously with Adonis Felios, who's here with us, certainly the wars with Crenson. I mean, you really right now are on a run right now that we haven't seen in a long time from you. I mean,
oh yeah, this is probably my biggest run.
Right, and I was surprised that you would even say that Crenson could give that title the love it didn't get, but you were the guy that these last few months is on the best run of your career. You were the guy that really made RCW synonymous with anything. I mean, how do you come to a conclusion like that?
Well, the reason for the conclusion is simple. Not one man can solidify it in one thing, and especially it takes multiple people to solidify a legacy of something. And the way it felt for me with RCW is, yes, I was the face of RCW. Yes, I was the World Underground Champion. I can't be the only one in the spotlight to hold that belt high and proud, I can't be the only one. And that is why I'm fine with Crenson holding it, because he sounds like he's going to be a fighting champion. And that's what I would want in a champion who would take the belt off of me. Someone who's willing to keep it going and keep winning. So if it's not me, for now. I know he's going to take that belt places it's never been before. Places maybe further than I could have ever dreamed of. And when he does take it there, and when it comes back, maybe I'll come back for it and take it even further. But for now, I'm content with him running with it.
All right. certainly diplomatic words here. I want to get to a couple more comments here from people. First, our good friend James Marshall. I'm actually watching in the background here from Wrestling Championship Entertainment. Says checking in here. Adonis Felios. Want to make sure Shawn Jovi, RCW Underground Champion or not, still to represent us here in WC, a true fighting champion in our hearts. From WC superstar Adonis Felios to another. 100% respect. Certainly, we love Shawn Jovi, the resident rock star. I want to give a big shout out first before I do anything else. I want to give a big shout out to my very good friend Anthony Finkel, who I was just with. We were having a meal and we were speaking about the resident rock star, and I think I convinced him to tune in live tonight on YouTube because he had some other plans, maybe some more important plans. But he was like, are you having Shawn Jovi on tonight? And I said, yes, the resident rock star is in the house. I want to give him a big shout out. Huge wrestling fan. Also, he is a landlord for the first time. He is a property owner now and he's on his way, being very successful businessman. He does a lot of great things out there in the community for DPH property maintenance and service, and I promised I would give him a nice shout out. So if he's listening, you can check this out at the very beginning. So please make sure you do that for yourself, Mr. Finkel, and thank you for tuning in. But I have to ask you this question. I do want to get to the announcement because I know there's an announcement that's burning and you have something there, and I want to get to that. But I have to ask you though. I mean, do you feel at all any way in the fact that you're the answer to the trivia question, in the fact that Nicholas Crenson, right, wins his first major championship in over 17 years, and we had rattled it off on Thursday's show, and who were champions 17 years ago in professional sports? It was the Carolina Hurricanes had won the Stanley Cup that year. The Pittsburgh Steelers had won the Super Bowl. The Miami Heat had won the NBA championship. Almost did it this year, though. And then obviously also in baseball, you had the St. Louis Cardinals. And on top of that, who was on top of wrestling? It was John Cena. It was Batista. It was Jeff Jarrett, Impact in wrestling. So you kind of get the picture here. I mean, but do you feel in a sense that you're this trivia answer to a question that people have asked about Nicholas Crenson? And does that make you at all feel not embarrassed, but almost like, well, I'm the guy that broke Nicholas Crenson's drought? I mean, what's your feelings on that?
Good. I could be very upset. I could be disappointed. I could be angry that I lost my championship, but I'm not. And like I said, it takes a big man to admit he lost, and I'm the big man who lost. Crenson was a better man that day.
Okay.
Enough said.
I think he certainly was, and I want to give a shout out to the champion because he is actually here now with us after we saw some dog pictures. Don't worry, Shawn, I'll help elevate this belt, buddy. Your reactions to that comment from Mr. Crenson, Mr. Jovi?
If you don't, I want to send your happy Crenson ass back with my belt.
All right. Well, but I just... Before I want to get to the announcement.
That outfit was ridiculous, by the way.
Hunter S. Thompson. Yes, the outfit was certainly something. It was something else, and obviously there was a lot of people who had thoughts on that. Maybe that's why so many people tuned in on YouTube, because it was the Nicholas Crenson outfit. I don't know, but
the outfit was pretty good.
Well, he was a champion. Yeah. Obviously, he's certainly taking that tone and celebratory mood, and congratulations to Nicholas Crenson. Obviously, he's worked very hard, but to get there, though, he took a different route than the way you took. And, I just feel like you're going very different than he would have. What do you say to that?
Well, Crenson has his agenda. And with the RCW title off my shoulders, I now have a new agenda.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up because I was curious. Now, Mr. Jovi, you said you wanted to say something for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio. And I was curious, what's on your mind? Enough about me asking you questions. Do you have something to say to the worldwide audience out there?
Absolutely. I have a very important announcement regarding our upcoming shows. You see, I want to tell a story quick if that's all right.
Absolutely. You can say whatever you want. You're Shawn Jovi. You want to talk for 25 minutes alone? Do it.
All right. So once upon a time, not ago, before Fight or Fright last year, I signed an open contract for a pure rules match against James Marshall at Fight or Fright last year. Now, of course, known to some, I could not attend the event, and the title shot was reserved for a late date. Hence this envelope I have right here, which is actually in a rain check contract for any show I would like this year against the interstate. So that leads us to right now. When do I plan on cashing this in? I planned on waiting and making it a surprise, but I had to answer my pants and do it live tonight. It was going to be a blog announcement, but like I said, I got to answer my pants. So without further ado, I plan on cashing this in August, the anniversary show. I believe it's going to be called Shard. I'm not 100% on that. Don't quote me. But in August, I plan on cashing it again on the Interstate Openweight Champion, whoever that is at the time. Hopefully, it's James Marshall or Catalyst or whoever he wants to be. Personally, I like Marshall better, but I am cashing in August. So, lo and behold, now that I'm going for the Interstate title anniversary show, which also is my anniversary month. For some who may remember last year, when I wrestled Dark, and that's part of the reason. On top of that, last year the anniversary, the second half of the anniversary, to Craven, and lost my shot at the All Out title as long as he's champion. So this is right here, basically the poker chip that says I'm going all in. I don't have the RCW title. I don't have the all out title. This is what I'm going for. I want to go all in on this and make sure that belt gets elevated to places it's never been before. I love James Marshall as a friend, as a competitor, but the one thing you need to do with that championship once I win it off him, and that is to stop having people like Omen Black calling that title mid-card.
You know,
because I think it's the mid-card title.
You think it's in the mid-card title? You do. That's what
Omen said it was, and it kind of bugged me a little bit. I am very, 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 very respectful towards Omen Black and the IMF, but I do disagree with him on the whole that card. I don't think it is one bit. I think it's on par with the All Out title. James is a workhorse. He will do everything he can to defend a belt, elevate a belt. But guess what, James? If you're pretty sure you're watching, I want to do what you did, but do it better. And I've been waiting a whole year to do it for this opportunity. And once that 1 year, almost to like the month comes, I'm going to run as far as I can with it.
Interesting thoughts, but let me first come back to something, and I have comments on this, and Mr. Marshall also has a reaction to this. Is obviously the news here is that you are looking to challenge whoever might be that interstate openweight champion comes at WC's anniversary show in August, which will also be your anniversary month from your wrestling career. Remember, obviously, last year, that amazing match you and Darkfire had, which we had the good fortune to cover here live on Sportswire Radio. So certainly that's an exciting announcement. But, I mean, if Omen said it's a mid-card title and you want to change that narrative, aren't you essentially saying then that, let's say, by you taking that title from Mr. Marshall, or Mr. Marshall, as you call him here over the past several months on Sportswire, that you're actually the one that's changing the title from, let's say, making that title that's kind of looked at as like, maybe not a mid-card title, but almost like second fiddle to Craven, or second banana, or almost like Scottie Pippen to Michael Jordan, or Roger Maris.
I feel about
to
it too.
Daniel. Go ahead, jump in.
I feel like that's what it's about too. All the attention and the spotlight's on Craven because he's held the belt over 400 days. James, he's a 2-time champion. He's held the interstate title twice. So that's nothing to over, you know. That's respectable in itself. That interstate ship has been something I've been chasing since the second season of WCE began, and when the RCW retired. That first show of 2022, my bad. Of crowning achievement of Fatal 4-Way to crown this champion, and I was the one pinned. And even though I was one pinned, I kept fighting. You get a chance. I had a. I think June of last year, I failed. I didn't get the job. It ended in a job. So, and that was the last chance I had at it. But now I think I'm ready. To do the big boy work, you know. RCW was a fed that I created. I want to take my career in places that it hasn't gone before, and that is winning a title outside of RCW.
Okay, all right. Well, I guess that maybe answers some of those questions. Let me get to some comments here, and I may apologize if there's a little bit of a delay because unfortunately, Mr. Jofi, we do have a little bit of some technical difficulties on your end, but we're going to try and kind of go through it and just part and parcel through everything. Nicholas Crenson says it was poetic for me to take the RCW title from Jovi, considering I was the one who pushed him to win it back from Craven Rage in the first place. Fair play. I give you that. I believe Mr. Marshall has responded saying, oh, snap. I think that's kind of a reaction toward what you just announced, that you were going to be coming for that title in August. Interstate isn't mid-card, considering it main evented 8 of the 18 WCE shows. And the last show, by the way, which we just saw here at Ring of Destruction 2, which was the main event with James Marshall or Catalyst, whatever you might want to call him here. But, you know, there is a point, though, that people feel like it takes a backseat because everybody feels like it's Craven Rage that's in wrestlers' face. It's Craven Rage who wrestlers call out, whether it's Omen Black, whether it's Anthony Steele, whether it's James Taylor. I mean, you could go up and down the list of wrestlers from other companies. I even heard some other guy from another company who's a world champion from a company called ROEW, Jason Storm, has mentioned Craven Rage, and Craven Rage has mentioned him. I mean, I've heard that through a birdie. I mean, so the point is that I think it's a great time. I think what the narrative really should be is that, to me, the interstate title was like what the Intercontinental title used to be way back in the day for the WWE, even similar to what it is now, where Austin Theory main evented Raw pretty much through several months with that title, the U.S. title as an example. So I would look at the Intercontinental title back in the day, or Gunther as well with the IC title now. So I would make the point that, you know, if you think about those championships, and the Intercontinental title was held by the likes of a Bret Hart, a Honky Tonk Man, a Mr. Perfect, a Shawn Michaels, a Razor Ramon, Randy Savage, Ricky Steamboat. Those wrestlers were considered to be the best technical guys. James Marshall, kind of like a present-day Gunther, also throw him in there, is kind of like our floor general, our best wrestler pound for pound in the company. So that's how I would frame it. Also here, Wisconsin All Out, his main events, which we talked about on Thursday, show 4 of the 18, RCW 3 of the 18, and 3 shows had main events that didn't involve a title. So no, the Interstate isn't a mid-card belt. I would say, though, it's more important than that, but listen, each to everybody its own. Pick-me's, call out pick-me's. Okay, I don't know what that means, but let me ask you, though, another question.
I don't know either.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Fair play here. Let me ask you, though, another question. And you talked about the fact that you hope it's Marshall, right, that retains his title. Obviously, we have a show coming up here in a little under 3 weeks, give or take, right, about 3 or so weeks. We have another show coming up here from WCE. So I'm going to ask you 2 questions in a 2-part way. The first one is, number one, is it even a foregone conclusion, considering what Marshall's had to go through these last couple of shows, that A, he's even going to retain, and B, I mean, considering how some may think Marshall is vulnerable right now, why not even take a shot at him at the next pay-per-view, because you might have him ripe for the picking? I mean, what's your thoughts on that 2-part question, more or less?
Well, the reason why I didn't want to do it right away, obviously, is the sentimental value of the I want to do it at. And even though I'm fresh off of a loss, Nicholas Crenson, I want to take July to make sure I'm ready for Mr. Marshall or whoever would take it from him the next month if, per se, he lost. I don't even know who I'm facing yet at the next show. I'm sure I'll know soon enough, but whoever it is, I hope they're ready because the Resident Rockstar is ready for war. Now that the RCW title is off my shoulder, I'm hungry more. And I'm hungry for that interstate. I'm hungry for whatever competition comes my way now. Because I got a lot now that I'm not the champion.
Do you think that there was pressure in holding up the title the way you did these last nearly 2 years, and maybe that's a sigh of relief?
Honestly, that rest on my shoulders for 2 years felt a lot lighter after, and I don't mean that in a bad way at all. Absolutely not. RCW's championship always gonna be my child. The child is always baby, but sometimes you gotta move on to bigger and better things, and that's what I feel the interstate is the next bigger and better thing that's next for me.
All right, so listen, maybe you're evolving. Listen, just like how we went from New Jersey to Keep the Faith, that Bon Jovi kind of matured a little bit to kind of help him and change with the times. Maybe you're changing with the times instead of being the RCW World Underground Champion to go to the Interstate Champion. Certainly, Mr. Marshall, I'm sure we'll have some different perspectives, but I want everybody to follow, if you're out there on YouTube, Shawn Jovi, the Resident Rockstar, RCW Rules. Make sure you subscribe to his YouTube page. Also, subscribe to our dear friends over at Wrestling Championship Entertainment at WC Heat on YouTube, Facebook, WCHeat.com. Also, if you get a chance, Shawn Jovi is now on Instagram, Shawn Jovi Selby. Make sure that you follow the Resident Rockstar on his journeys and his travels. So make sure you do all of that here. If you're on YouTube, you want to continue to give us a sub, do that at Sportzwire Radio. I've gotten a lot of new subscribers actually since this temporary Facebook block has happened. So I appreciate that people have stuck and stood by us on Sportswire. Also, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can listen to all of our great content on sportnarium.com/player. And we're going to have more coverage from Wrestling Championship Entertainment this Friday, where maybe we'll hear about when you're going to be in the ring next and who else could be in the ring with next, because the Backyard Nightmare himself is back, the ruler of the yard, the WC All-Out Champion for over 400 days. Mr. Craven Rage is in the house on a Friday. You know, Friday night's a big deal because usually we do these regular sports shows, but because of the temporary block on Facebook, we've kind of decided we got to make things big. WC's got another big show coming up. We had the IMF boys yesterday, Soldier GP, Dirty Donnie, Omen Black. But instead, we've decided Friday night, let's for now, because obviously summer is big time season for our yarders. Let's try to get on the likes of a Craven Rage, and the champion has requested a microphone. He has a lot to say. He wants to get something off his chest. There could even be some surprises. So if you're a WCE fan, a Sportswire fan, and even a fan of Backyard and pro wrestling in general, you are not going to want to miss what the Backyard Nightmare has to say, especially the mood that the Backyard Nightmare is in these days. You saw what he did to Adonis Felios. You saw what he did to Prince Charles. Who knows what else, or who knows could else be in that warpath from Craven Rage. You're not going to want to miss this one. But right now, we are here with Shawn Jovi for 594 days. He was living on a prayer as that RCW World Underground Champion. But now he very well may crush it and bounce back as the Interstate Openweight Champion come August. You will certainly stay tuned for that. Before I ask you some more questions, Mr. Jovi, Mr. Marshall would say, if I'm still champion by that time, I will not go unhinged on you, Shawn. I promise. Trying to keep up with this interview, cooking some burgers. So I guess before I get to Mr. Jovi, first, Mr. Marshall, when you're cooking those burgers, do you cook your burgers well done? Are you grilling the burgers? Because me personally, as a New Yorker, I always like my burgers well done. I'm a well done man because I just want those burgers well done, nicely burnt, grilled, whatever it might be. So I'd be curious to know what it's like where you're cooking your burgers. But, you know, Mr. Jovi, before I get back to some of the thoughts here on WC and your future here, especially with this Interstate Championship announcement, I had to ask you, I mean, what was it like making that video with yourself, Mr. Darkfire, and Mr. Dash Andrews recreating that Bret Hart famous Slammy Award-winning video with the glasses and everything else. I was instructed by my very good friend Anthony Finkel to ask you that question, and I have to ask you, I mean, talk about making that video. That certainly was
That oh my
WCW
god,
confirmed.
that
Talk about that,
was
Jovi.
such a we did. That was one of the best ideas. Actually, believe it or not, James actually came up with the idea. He's like, "Hey, before the show, we should film." I was like, and he was showing me the Bret Hart commercial. And it was too easy not to do. So like, let's just do it. so like, we filmed all the stuff. There's a few things I regret about it. Like, I wasn't in full gear for it. So like, I had my like brown shoes and my mismatching pants in the shot instead of my fuzzy boots and tights. I was like, man, I had a lot of memories with this video. God, was it fun? It was fun.
Well,
I want to actually do more parodies like that in the future.
Yeah, I think you should do more parodies. But my first follow-up is, I mean, you're telling me you hadn't seen that commercial before?
I don't remember it.
Wow, I would have thought you would have.
I know I've seen. I think I've seen part of it, but like the Bret yelling, I remember that, but I don't remember the commercial vividly as James did.
All right, fair play. All right, certainly it was one of the more memorable commercials growing up.
Oh,
I do remember that. I remember it very well. And
I think I started watching wrestling shortly after the whole Bret Hart thing. Maybe that was why.
All right, that makes sense. That certainly makes sense here. And a couple of more comments here. I also, from Nicholas Crenson, oven baked is the best way to cook burgers. Oven baked and well done, Tom. Well, I guess that sort of answers it. So I guess I partially agree there. Want to give a big shout out to a huge fan of WC's all the way from the state of Oklahoma, Mr. J.R. Wind. Jovi needs to be in the WC title mix. Well, right now he can't because Craven Rage is holding the title. So the next best thing from Jovi's standpoint is to go and try to take that interstate championship, which, to be fair, there was a point made that, listen, if you didn't have COVID, life would have been different. I mean, maybe you would have been the interstate champion. You know, I've asked you that question before, and I'll ask it to you again. I mean, do you think about that a lot? A what if? What if you didn't get COVID? Is that something you still think about these past 8 or 9 months?
Absolutely. I've had a lot of self-reflecting. I mean, those who follow me on Facebook, I've been doing workouts and stuff, trying to get myself in better wrestling shape and part of a lot of mental self-reflecting and a lot of health healing, you know, I agree with you. I agree. Like, the interstate would be my last chance of getting a title for a while. And would it have been different if COVID didn't happen? Yeah, I don't know what happened. I would probably be interstate champion perhaps. But then the RCW title one came back. And that's the part that's like bittersweet about the thing is like, yeah, I could be interstate champion now. But then would RCW have ever come back in the it has and gain the mission that it always needed to have. I always wanted it to have, I say. Because honestly, it was kind of cool seeing legends and stuff in the Crenson the other day. I saw that all happen. And I thought that was really cool. He definitely earned it.
Sure.
Now in the interstate title, I'm hoping to get that same feel. Something I've been working for since the beginning of WCE.
Certainly, that could very well be the case. I do have some more comments before I come back to you and ask you something about that fitness adjustment you've made. That commercial was part of Bret Hart's Titantron for the Open. Yeah, I think that was when. Was it the Titantron, not the where he had the new entrance music, where he made the kind of heart attack adjustments to kind of the more guitar central? Maybe that was the Titantron that he came back with in '96 after the sabbatical. I'm trying to remember, but that's obviously a way back on the time machine. But nice catch there by Mr. Marshall. Still in the drawing board process of a Marshall Catalyst T-shirt. definitely DM me about that. Put me on the list. If I have to PayPal you something for it, I will gladly wear a shirt of that. Also, if you want more merchandise from Wrestling Championship Entertainment, like I have right now, one with a Skull shirt or some other WC merchandise, you can go to WCHeat.com. That's WCHeat.com. You can get merchandise from the Resident Rockstar. You can get the WC logo shirt. It's got the Sportswire logo on the side. Make sure you go there. Get that merchandise, support this company, support our friends. We always do that. The running joke is at this point, people ask me, well, what's in your wardrobe? And I say, well, it's wrestling shirts. So that's kind of what we should continue to make everybody strive for, but support those great causes here. Nicholas Crenton followed up J.R. Wynn's point about the world title. So let's talk about kind of the fitness side, because I have noticed that, in the last couple of months, you are moving a little differently. You are moving different in a good way. You seem like right now that you're a little bit more timber on your feet. You're more lighter. You're certainly doing things. I think that's showing that you're going in a direction that you're taking things seriously. We've talked about this here before this season with you. Yes, you're the fun-loving, jovial Shawn Jovi, resident rock star, Bret Hart commercial parody, but there seems to be something different with you. It seems like even now on the fitness side of it, I mean, talk about what motivated you to kind of make this health change, which is A, going to benefit you in real life and in the rest of your life, but B, in the part that we love on Sportswire that we cover in WCE fans is your wrestling skills. Because like I said, the last few months, and I've said it, you have probably been the MVP of WC this season. You have been in I think you've had the best matches each show just about. So talk about all of that. What has inspired you to kind of get involved in that? And this, I think, better life adjustment here for those that are listening and watching.
Well, a lot of it started actually probably in the past month. After my match with Adonis, I was winded. Like after that, I was struggling to move, and I only wrestled like a 15-minute match. I used to go so much longer. No, and I don't even think it was 15 minutes, but I was so
it was
winded.
like 13, I think 13 or 12.
Yeah, it was not as long as I wanted, and it didn't go quite the way I wanted. So, and I kind of sulked in that a bit, and I had a mental breakdown, a personal mental breakdown, maybe about 3 weeks ago. And it's like, you know what? I'm sick of feeling this way. I'm saying like I'm not standing up to what I believe in and what I want to do. I'm sick of saying I'm going to do something and just don't do it. I've just gotten to that point where I'm done giving up on myself, or in general. I want to take what's in front of me and make it mine. I want summer. I want to make it my life. I want the summer of Jovi that I've wanted for years. I know I said it last year. I know I said all the other years before.
You did. You said it last year.
I
was kind of chuckling here. You did say summer of Jovi last year on the air.
I know. This year, I mean, obviously it went to a halt by me losing the championship. But I'm optimistic. I have other I can do other than be RCW champion. I have other options. This isn't the end of the road. And that's why I'm working out. I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to get my full gear, because in August, that's the real test. Work that I've been putting in since the beginning of this year to make myself a better competitor in and outside of the ring, or in actual life itself. If I can be James Marshall or whoever that champion is in August, then I will have proven myself worthy of being a champion and all that stuff. This is the big test. And that's what I'm working for right now, is a test to see if my hard work off.
Okay, and I could certainly appreciate and really encourage you. I want to encourage you as a person and someone I consider a friend here, that I think it's a great step in your life. Leave aside the wrestling stuff, and I would have to imagine that this is something that's only going to further motivate you to continue to do. And is there an ultimate goal with this? Is there something that you have an overall total end goal or destination, or Destination Anywhere to quote a John Bon Jovi sophomore solo album released in 1997 for
Yes.
Was that a good album, by the way? Because I don't really remember that album too well.
I don't remember it either. I just remember it existed. I remember Richie Sambora made one too, and I didn't. It was too good. I don't remember.
Yeah, Richie Sambora did make a solo album or two, and it wasn't memorable. Yeah, Richie Sambora.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, they when they went off and did some of the solo stuff there in the middle to late '90s, I think that's why they came back to Bon Jovi, because I don't think the public buyers didn't think too well of it either. So yeah, that's a separate.
Yeah, they were better together than apart.
Absolutely. But what was your ultimate destination with this kind of fitness change?
Well, as far as fitness itself, I'm trying to get myself to where I was at in 2009 when the original Jovi happened, which requires me to lose 100 pounds. In the long run, that's what I want to lose. I think in 2000 when I went to Indiana and did all that crazy stuff for the first time, I was sitting at about 235 pounds. I'm a big guy. I got a large frame, so I know people would say, "Oh, 235 pounds is a little over." Heck, no, not for me. I felt pretty slim back then compared to now. So, you know what I mean? The end goal is back to where I was when I was starting to go places and starting to do things before it all went away for a while and became an on and off hobby. I went back to where I was when I started, but do it more differently. Because I was a kid back then. I was only like 18, 19 years old.
Sure.
Well, and I was probably the best shape I've been in my life. But now fifth pass, my life is doubled in age, and I want to do things the right way now. I want to do things. I want to do things the way that they could have been done years ago that I didn't have the opportunity to. And that's what I'm trying to do now is make up for lost time.
Well, listen, they say the most valuable thing in life is actually time. And time, it's all about how you use it. And I would also add that when you're 18 or 19, sure, it's easy to be in that shape, but doing what you're doing now, that's the real work. And I think that's going to really prove to the kind of individual and person that we all know and love. And that's why I want everybody to follow you on YouTube at RCW Rules, Shawn Jovi on Instagram. Also, want to give a big shout out to the man that's here, Anthony Finkel. He is here. Shawn Jovi, great ad. By the way, we were speaking about this here before we went on the air, and obviously we spoke about that a few minutes ago. And also, congratulations to you, my brother, on becoming a landlord once again, property manager, and Anthony Finkel almost getting back into that look. He looks like that now on YouTube, Anthony Finkel. Anthony Finkel doing a lot of great things. Please follow him out there, DPH Property Maintenance and Service. They do a phenomenal job serving the tri-state area, and they do all types of things when it comes to construction, snow removal, waste management, you name it, they do it. Go out there and follow him, Anthony J. Finkel. Give him a friend request also on Facebook. If you're enjoying the stream, smash the like button. I definitely appreciate that. We appreciate all of our friends here. Nicholas Crenson, you were the toughest SOB in WC. You getting into better shape will only make you tougher. Jovi Spirit activated from Adonis Felios, the Drip King. Me and Shawn wrestled a 20-minute match at last year's Vindication. Remember that very well. Can't wait to break our record and show off your results of training. And also, Mr. Marshall would like to say, my wardrobe is movie and band shirts. I almost have to ask as a side point, what movie and band shirts do you have in your wardrobe? I might have to compare what's in my wardrobe of what's left of my movie and band shirts and see if we're on the same page here. But all great stuff here. But let me ask you a question, because Crenson had mentioned this, and I wanted to get your perspective, because he talked about the fact that he was going to be a champion that considered himself not just WCE, and he mentioned different names, different people. I'm not going to ask you necessarily on those different names, but do you feel that you could have done anything differently as champion? And what was your feelings when you did hear that Crenson was talking about the fact that, he wasn't just limiting himself to WC. He was saying that while he's a WC guy, he's a Nicholas Crenson guy. I mean, you were the RCW champion. You were the guy that held that tie. I was just curious. What was your impressions on that?
Well, Crenson isn't doing what I want to eventually do with that title. Unfortunately, I lost it a little bit before I could execute that plan. Because I think I mentioned in the season last year to you, I was a super show. I enjoy going to other places.
You did. You talked about it. You did talk about it.
And that was a goal for me to eventually do that again. And that's what I was trying to get the RCW title ready for. Unfortunately, before I could execute that operation, Krenzen beat me to the punch and beat me for the title. But now that he's taking the ball and running with it, if he can do that with the RC title, imagine what I'm going to do with the interstate title. I defend it across the Midwest. The Midwester wants a shot. I plan doing it the same way Krenzen did because that's the way I wanted to do it with. And now that WC is getting all these attentions from IMF or Skulls or any of these guys out there, like Soldier, who apparently wants to see me in the ring. So before this was thing, I just thought we were on our own planet in Wisconsin. You know, I wasn't expecting other feds to notice us the way we were noticed. This like last year, we didn't have a lot of attention from other feds.
No, we spoke last year, but I don't think it ever came about other companies. You know, we were speaking last year.
It was all this year. And like I said, I mean, if the RCW title was in circulation sooner, maybe we could have done something with it. But the fact it's happening now, bravo. That's it. Everything is coming together the way I would like it to.
Okay, all right, fair play here. But let me ask you though something else, and I'm not gonna go necessarily ask you on the INF because I have the Skull shirt on. I mean, you know, I shouldn't say it like this, but I'm gonna say it because I'm sure he'll catch us out there. You know, I was speaking with somebody from WC off the air not too long ago, and I'd asked them, "What do you make of the Skulls here?" And I'm sure there'll be an announcement very soon. He's coming here July 8th. I mean, this can go two ways. This could be like one of the biggest booms in chart history, or this could totally end up like how can I put it? Almost like a punchline. It could almost be like Buff Bagwell in WWF at the time. I mean, what do you expect, or was this finally happening? I don't know much more else to say about this Skulls. I mean, I have the shirt on. She almost ask you this kind of, you know, objectively speaking. What do you think here of this?
Honestly, as sad as it is to say, I've not done too much homework on. I know.
Well, that's the question here. People have asked me. I have had people ask me, wrestlers, non-wrestlers, friends of mine on Sportswire, and they'll say, "Hey, let me ask you a question," and I'll say, "Okay, sure. Ask me anything you want." Right? I'm thinking they're going to ask me about, you know, something, right? And they'll ask me, "Have you seen Skulls in the ring?" I said, "I haven't." So
that's why I said I couldn't homework, and I won't be able to do my homework. There's no documentation, and that's what kind of makes me wonder. Like, all the power to Skulls for wanting to step up and face people.
He got his name out there. I'll tell you what.
All the power to him. Oh yeah, he did. He really did. But he kind of might have bit off more than he can chew, I think, by challenging him. Trust me, take from the guy who is giving Craven loss.
Well, but
you don't know what's happening in Skulls.
Well, I was gonna say though, see, when you and Craven were in the ring, you know, people looked at all right, that's mano a mano. You know, even when Omen Black talks about Craven Rage, you feel like those guys, listen, they're world champions, right? You know, say what you want about both guys, but that feels like a fight. That feels like a duel. But Skulls, I don't know. I mean, Skulls talks, but Craven Rage, you know, he drops everybody almost like a sack of potatoes. I mean, listen, I guess Craven Rage is going to address this. I imagine I've heard from a birdie is going to address this Friday night. That's why I was curious about that. And I was also wondering very quickly, Mr. Jovi. Now, I know you're focused on the interstate, but I am sure you caught a few things about Dash Andrews. It said a few things about Darkfire. Your name was mentioned in there, and obviously we saw what happened there with this new team of Dash Andrews and Prince Charles had defeated your best friend Darkfire and J-STYRIO. And I was curious, just from afar, I know you're focused on this interstate. I know you're focused on something that's a long accomplishment of yours, but any observations on that?
Well, kind of like how the Darkfire and Crimson thing went. Dark's to fight his own battles. I can't. Oh, Dash said I can't be the one always coming to the rescue. I can't always be the one to step in. And when it comes to the nature of the sport, the reason why these men are pit 1-on-1 against each other is because they have issues and they need to settle it in the ring. And I think Dash and Charles, yeah, they got under Darkfire's skin. They defeated J-STYRIO and Darkfire. But again, that's a hurdle Dark handle on his own. If Dash says he's truly the better golden ticket holder, then Darkfire needs to step in and shut him up. Because truly, I think Darkfire is the better golden ticket holder. Yeah, you may not. He may be newer. He may not experience that maybe Dash or myself or others would have. He's been around a long time like me, but he hasn't wrestled much.
Right. I had made that point with Dash last week on the show in that, yes, you've been here, but the record, speaks for itself. But I think there was a point to be made when it came to with Darkfire was that, you've been there for him. You've been there, but when you're not there with him, the record's left to be desired. Yes, he's got the golden ticket, but Darkfire has certainly come a long way, but just curious. Obviously, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. I was just curious to get your thoughts on that. We are on Sportswire Radio. Again, we're here for about 20 or 25 minutes with the resident rock star, Shawn Jovi. Certainly very excited. I want to break also one more time for those that have come back in here on Sportswire that Shawn Jovi, the resident rock star, has announced that coming up this August at the WC Anniversary Show, Shawn Jovi is taking his opportunity to hold claim to the WC's Wrestling Championship Entertainment Interstate Openweight Championship. It'll be determined if James Marshall or Mr. Marshall, as Mr. Jovi calls him, or Catalyst, whatever he might want to call him, almost like the artist formerly known as Prince. Is it ATFS? Is it Prince? Whatever it might be, that he would certainly like to still challenge for that championship, whether it's James Marshall or not. That's certainly what could happen here coming out in August, but we'll have to see for more identification and details on Sportswire. Also want to break the announcement again one more time that Craven Rage, the backyard nightmare himself, the ruler of the WC yard, a man Shawn Jovi does hold the victory over. One of the few people that can lay claim to a win over Craven Rage is here Friday night on Sportswire Radio. So right after SmackDown, right after the conclusion of WWE SmackDown, especially after what's going on, Roman, the Bloodline, who knows what else, you head on over to Sportswire Radio on YouTube and you catch what the Backyard Nightmare has to say, because the Backyard Nightmare right now, who knows what he's thinking right now. He has requested a microphone. He is enraged. He's always enraged, but especially Friday night. Craven Rage is here just 2 short weeks before the next WCE show. But we are here with the resident rock star himself, Shawn Jovi. Shawn Jovi, I also noticed we cut some hair on the top. I mean, do we expect to grow that back? I mean, what's the deal with the hair there?
I mean, I really hate having long hair, especially in summer. So all those curls are not coming back until at least the fall and it gets colder. I like having short hair summer. It gets hot up here. I mean, people may say, "Oh, it's cold. It doesn't get warm up there." Bull crap. We get every year, and I don't understand why.
Well, I would have to add, Mr. Jovi, my hair. Look at my hair, right? So imagine me in the summer. Because I haven't had short. The last time I had short hair, I'd have to go way back in the time machine. We're probably talking like I was a little kid. So I mean, it's been a while for me. Yeah, it's both.
I wish I could grow my yours. It just poofs and curls. I don't like it.
All right. Well, you know what? It's not about me. It's certainly about you here. And I also wanted to ask you then, in terms of, Crenton had said something about kind of like the 4 cornerstones of WC and your name was referenced along with Marshall, certainly Mr. Crenson, and the Backyard Nightmare. I mean, do you think of yourself that way as a part of the kind of cornerstone and the pillars of WC?
Oh yes, absolutely. I was there when we had the ring. I was there from day one. Just like Jungle Boy, MJF, Sarah, and Darby Allin are to AEW or figurative pillars. I consider the four people you listed of WC as the pillars themselves. We were the ones who helped start and elevate the project on its feet and going. Like the ones who started to reignite wrestling in Wisconsin after the longest it once had.
Well, you were certainly reigniting backyard wrestling, that's for sure. That's obviously the opening of all our WC shows here. So certainly we're looking forward to that. And also please watch the WC show that just took place here. And I almost have to ask you this question, and I wasn't going to ask it to you, but I guess I might as well. We've gotten a message from Adonis Felios, the Drip King, that he would like to come on and say a few things to you. Would you like to hear from Mr. Felios? Would you like him to come on and say a few words to you? Or what's your impressions of that? Because we've just received word from Mr. Felios. Completely up to you in your court if you want to hear from Mr. Felios, the Drip King himself.
I mean, if he wants to come a little bit, I don't see why not.
Okay, all right. So then we will allow, before we move on here to closing thoughts and some other things, because we are trying to part and parcel through some of these technical difficulties here, because we admittedly have had some technical difficulties. So I'll ask Mr. Felios one more time to send me his email address here so I can have it on handy so I can actually send Mr. Felios the link here for our episode here coming up here with you. So I have to actually ask Mr. Felios if you were out there, which I believe you actually are. In fact, I actually have your email here, so I will now give it to you. So, Mr. Felios, you could be dialed up here very shortly, and I guess we'll figure it out here. Obviously, you guys have had some wars here recently we spoke about, so I'm going to let Mr. Felios kind of address you before we get to some closing thoughts here and anything else. And one more time, if you are out there on social media, please follow Wrestling Championship Entertainment, WC Heat on YouTube, WC Heat on Facebook, WCHeat.com, Shawn Jovi Selby on Instagram now. Check him out on Instagram. RCW Rules coming close to 600 subscribers now, I believe, out there. We've got Jovi's Vlogs. Make sure you go out there and watch all the Jovi's Vlogs. And we are joined here. Let's hope this works. The Drip King himself, the AIW champion of the world, Adonis Felios. Adonis, make this good because you were on last time, and let's make this a little bit more interesting. So what do you have to say to the resident rock star, Shawn Jovi?
Greetings, Mr. Rockstar. How you doing this evening?
I'm great.
Riveting.
Evening to you, Tom.
Yes, sir. How are you there? What do you like to say tonight to the out there audience?
I'd like to say, in front of the Sportzwire Radio audience, Jovi, this message is to you still. Nothing to be ashamed of. You gave your all to Crenson. You put your money where his mouth is. You could have still been RCW Underground Champion. But like I said before, you, as I speak for all of us here at WCE, is still a champion in our hearts. And you earned that badge of honor for that.
Thank you.
And Tom, he agrees with that too.
Yes, I will actually say, and I want to also take the time out to say that when you guys were in the ring, that was like the Clash of the Titans. It was two giants, but two giants that showed respect with one another. It was almost like two champions across the ring and showing that while they're competitors, they also respect each other. And mutual respect is always a part of things. And I will say one thing about the resident rock star, Shawn Jovi, is that the people love Shawn Jovi. Shawn Jovi arguably might be one of the most beloved characters, I would dare say, not just in WC history, but in Sportswire history. I mean, you were certainly up there. You were a beloved fellow. The fans love you. I mean, you were certainly up there. When I think of WC, and really, I would say you were kind of like the biggest good guy in the history of WC. You were almost kind of like our Hulk, almost kind of like our Cena, almost like kind of like our Sting. You're probably out there during the week going and going to Make-A-Wish Wisconsin's, going to those children's hospitals of Wisconsin, going to those places where the community needs you, the community wants you, and they want that resident rock star. So I would dare say you are out there more than anybody else, and that's why you are the RCW rules, and that's why you have the fans that you are. And I would dare say that the fans love you more than anybody else, like I said, in WC history and maybe even in Sportswire history.
Like I said this, Shawn.
Yeah.
I taught you things. You taught me things. You took me by my limit. I took you by your limit when we last clashed. So, I can say this, man. You're still the man to me.
I want to do this because it was 594 days that you were champion. And we want to obviously drop the microphone for a second and say, thank you, Shawn. Thank you, Shawn.
Oh, man. This is making me blush. Stop it. Oh, man.
Well, I would say, listen, there was that. Obviously, everybody's talking about on social media, and they go, Shawn, it's the resident rock star, Shawn Jovi. Like I said, you are probably going tomorrow, getting up bright and early to a Wisconsin Children's Hospital. Probably Make-A-Wish, at least 2 or 3 of them. You're probably going somewhere to, let's say, I don't know, YMCA, Boys and Girls Club of America in Wisconsin. You're probably doing something out there to grant that fan that just those good words, encouragement to lift their spirits up from whatever they're going through to be with the resident rock star. You don't have to admit it here on Sportswire because always the good ones, they don't want to make the listen. John Cena, for example, didn't want to tell anybody he was going to set the record for making.
I heard that.
Yeah,
that was really cool of him too. He didn't want any recognition.
And that's probably just like you in Wisconsin for what you do out there, for all the people, just for everything you've done for not just the wrestling community, not just for RCW, not just for the backyard community, but everybody in whole.
Yeah.
Right.
I would say I put my heart out to pretty much. I got the biggest heart out of many people I know. Like, I give my heart out to everybody. Like, I love people. It's what I've been about. That's why I am the resident rock star. Because I'm a people person. I'm the one who likes to hype up the people. I'm ready to see something new that they've never seen before.
Absolutely. No, you have definitely been that person. Before we move on to closing thoughts here, Mr. Drip King, Adonis Felios, do you have anything else you want to get off your chest before we let the resident rock star say a few more things? Is there anything else you'd like to say here? Anything else on your mind as we get ready for the big show coming up here July the 8th, which I'm sure we'll see you here in?
Well, after my last match with Craven at Reign Destruction 2, I did the one thing that most people have ever done before, more than Jovi can put together. And he can chime in on this too. I took the AIW champion to its very limit. And you know why?
Yeah, the All-Out champion?
No, it's because I was mere seconds away. This close to ending his 400-plus day reign as RCW champion. If it wasn't for his ring awareness, you would have seen a new All champion right in front of the WCE crowd, just like that. But
you did technically have him. But that's neither here nor there. You still got the win at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll give you that. You made up a good point for that. If it wasn't for his wicked cheating tactics, I still would have been champion right about now as we speak. But I'll give Craven where his credit was due. But you don't need a cheat sheet to scare away yourself from the all-out title. But I did have Craven's number. Let's say, for example, I targeted his knee. I nearly snapped it in half. And come to my surprise and my arson, guess what I put him at? The drip lock.
Okay, I mean, I get where this is going, and unfortunately, from your vantage point, Mr. Rage is going to be in your spot that you would have been in if you had won. You didn't win. We'll certainly, I'm sure, see a lot more of you in the future, especially on July the 8th. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we move on here to closing thoughts? Because I do want to move on here to a couple of more thoughts with Mr. Jovi and then sign off because my voice is starting to say it's time to go call it quits for a day. So anything else you want to say?
Yeah, it's my bedtime.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say?
I know July 8th is just around the corner.
Yeah.
And you know what? Who knows? The owner, WEC management, may have something surprising for us. But I have a little surprise of my own come January 8th. Because yours truly, Adonis Bilios, is going to put some Americana into the mix.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'm certainly going to be dying to find out what that is. Maybe Mr. Rage will elaborate for some of that for us here on Sportswire Radio Friday in the spot that you would have had if you would have won. We can certainly follow you as a part of Wrestling Championship Entertainment. Mr. Drip King, obviously, good luck out there. We'll see what you have for a surprise for us, no doubt, I am sure, between now and July the 8th. Thank you for joining us. Good to be with you once again. And thank you for your support, and God bless America. I agree with you on that. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll talk soon, my friend.
That's right. July 8th, just around the corner. I'll be prepared. I'll be there.
All right, we'll certainly be there. We may not be square, but Adonis will definitely speak with you soon. And that was Adonis Felios, the Drip King here. So Shawn Jovi, I think he kind of segued it. It's getting close to your bedtime and some closing thoughts here. So I want to ask you here, quick question here first is, what do you have to say for any advice for Nicholas Crenson as he now holds the title that you hold for 594 days? Is there any advice you have for Crenson now that you've passed the baton to him?
Now that you have that belt, run with it. Run and take it to places it's never been before. Do things you've never done before. Go beyond your limit. I've been learning that with workouts. If you quit, you're nothing. You got to keep going every day and keep fighting. And that's how you're going to be a good champion, by being a fighting champion. Crenson said he wanted to do that. I wholeheartedly believe him. I think he is going to be a fighting champion. I want him to fight and take that title places it's never been before. So as long as you keep doing that, Crenson, you're doing a champion's job in my book. Okay. All right. Great stuff here. And also, before I get to closing thoughts here, what do you have cooking when it comes to our Jovi's vlogs? Obviously, Jovi's vlogs have always got it going on here. And anything else you want to preview for us that's upcoming? Well, bring some highlights of this broadcast probably for Monday's episode. But certainly not the Adonis Felios comments. I hope will be part of the highlight package. I would certainly hope. What comments? I said I would certainly hope that Mr. Adonis Felios would not be a part of I was joking, but I got that point. I certainly wanted to emphasize that. I appreciate that there, Mr. Joey. I know. I was just messing with you. But no, as far as the vlog goes, I got quite a bit coming up. I mean, I did a title tournament with the Shaq Fu that I did a few weeks ago. And the next one's actually going to be airing on Monday, which will be between me, Tyler Ark, and Adonis, playing Wheel of Fortune for the vlog and internet title. so that's I do know when Fight Forever comes on the Xbox, I will be defending that title by playing that game as well.
Yeah.
Intergalactic sense always is fun on the vlog. Just come on by and check it out. I mean, vlog's got it going on, as you said.
Oh, it
As
definitely
the song
does.
says.
I think the song
A
is
lot
very
of fun
catchy.
stuff coming up soon. So
Absolutely.
it's
no
summer.
question
Expect
about that.
the madness to just go in summer.
Absolutely. No, definitely RCW Rules on YouTube and Shaq Fu. You made me think about it as a kid playing the game on Super Nintendo, the Shaq Fu game.
Game is
Remember as
so
growing
awful.
up. Yeah, that was
The game is so awful.
you know what? I got to be
I
honest.
played Beast Guy, and he was awful. He's the reason I lost the tournament.
I got to be honest, man. I don't know if you remember it at all, but I remember as a kid we had the video game rental stores. We had the local ones, and I remember my brother and I, both my brothers and I renting that game going up in Brooklyn. It was like terrible game. It was really a bad. I don't even remember anything memorable about that game. That was the old Super Nintendo. I think it was like 1996's Super Shaq Fu. It was definitely
I think the worst Super Nintendo game I ever rented from was at a grocery store called Austin's, and it was missing. I regret it wholeheartedly. I was trying to figure out where Mario went the entire time and could never him.
And what was the game you rented?
Mario is missing.
Oh my god, I don't even remember it. I don't even remember Mario.
That's the point. Should remember it. It was a bad game.
I don't remember.
It was more like one of those learning games.
Oh.
But like it was on Super Nintendo. I thought it was a legitimate Mario game, and
okay.
It was just no, don't play it.
I think the worst one for me, real quick before we get to closing thoughts, was there was an NCAA basketball game they had for Super Nintendo, and it was like the way that the graphics were, and it was like the no players, and just the way it looked, it was like just totally like I don't even know how they could have licensed this and called it a college basketball game. So I think that would have to have been off the top of my head the worst game that I could have played. But there was some clunkers. I'd have to go back in the time machine. I probably have a few others I could get back to. Maybe that'll be for another topic for another time. And also, Nicholas Crenson wants to say, "Oh yeah, I still have that booty in the bank."
Oh yeah, he has that.
He has that game. Wow. Okay, that I do.
Yeah, he gets the game. He gets game of choice for the internet belt.
Okay. All right. So we still give him that. Also, Adonis says thank you. All right. Great stuff there. So I want to give you the floor. I think I've talked enough tonight about you. I got the picture. I know we're going here in August with Marshall. If he's the champion, no matter what, you're challenging for the interstate title. You said different things about Crenson. We even got into a little bit about what Mr. Donis Felios had to say. We talked about the promo video. I know we could have talked about some other promotions, other companies, but obviously some technical audios out there. And I kind of want to move on here for the night because my voice is a little hoarse right now, as you can see.
It's definitely on the crack, man.
This is my 5th time I'm live in 3 days. All right, and I made a special occasion because you're the resident rock star. So I was, for you, I just did it. For nobody else, I don't know if I would have did it. But let's give you the floor. Aww. You're a special guy to us on Sports. I told you, you're probably out there going to a Wisconsin Children's Hospital for a Make-A-Wish tomorrow. But let's give you the floor. Let's give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, say, and be my guest.
Is go online, go on YouTube, follow my vlogs and all my wacky adventures. The YouTube is at RCW Rules, at RCWRULZ. Weekly vlogs, nonsense. I plan on doing some more things in the future, especially when Fight Forever comes out for AEW. I plan on playing a lot of that game online, and just out. We got it going on always. And be sure to check out WC. They're a great group, a great federation. They've done a lot for me. I'm obviously fighting for winning titles in August. Give them a follow. At WC. And I think that's it for plugs.
All right, definitely. Well, Shawn Jovi Selby, one more time, Instagram, Shawn Jovi Selby on Facebook, RCW Rules on YouTube. And yes, definitely, since we can say it now because it's after hours, definitely in that video from Fountains of Wayne, Rachel Hunter definitely had it going on. That's all I will say. I will say one more thing. Rod Stewart, you might be a Sir Rod Stewart, but what were you thinking dropping Rachel Stewart. That's all I'm going to say. But hey, that's here nor there. Certainly, that's why he's Sir Rod Stewart, and I'm only a reverend, so I'm a little bit under him. But hey, Shawn Jovi is the reason we're here. It's not about me. My friend, certainly very curious to see what the future holds for you. Answered some of the things I had said about you Thursday, so I think you kind of went the route that Crenton thought you would, but you gave us a little bit more clarity on that. We certainly will see what happens. I have no doubt we'll have you on here before August. And congratulations, though, most importantly, on this fitness journey. We all support you on that. Anything we can do, you are always going to have us in our corner. And keep up the great work. Keep living on a prayer. Keep fighting for these days, because you're going to definitely crush it and bounce it, and keep the faith, my friend.
It's a pleasure as always.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the resident rock star Shawn Jovi, who for 594 days he held that RCW World Underground Championship, but now he has set his sights on the Interstate Openweight Championship, and it remains to be seen who holds that title. We'll see what happens here coming up in August at the WC/Shawn Jovi anniversary show, who will hold that title, and if Mr. Jovi will certainly be looking to live on a prayer and certainly run away with that championship. But my name is the Reverend Tom Brice, the man behind Sportzwire Radio. If you're on sportnrm.com/player, you go back to your regularly scheduled programming. We'll be back here coming up Tuesday with a professional video game streamer that is Watch Me Work 601 on Instagram and Twitter. He is a part of the Prozone Gaming Division. Very excited about that. PZGD is the hashtag. Thank you to Mr. Big Snoop. Mr. Big Snoop also got his first payout from Twitch as a professional gamer. So congratulations to Mr. Big Snoop. That is MISTA, Mr. Big Snoop. So go follow him on Instagram, also on Twitter. Thank you, everybody, here for tuning in on Sportswire Radio. My name is the Reverend Tom Brice. Good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. And all to the fans of WC, we'll see you soon. Friday night with Craven Rage here on the number one